please welcome to the stage multi-platinum recording artist, Saweetie, and Dr. Stacy Smith.
I just want to say to all of you, this is one of the most exciting days of my life because you're probably wondering, why is Dr. Stacy Smith, right? I get it. This is my former student.
Fight on.
Fight on. So I am beyond impressed, humbled, and I've never done this before. Grammy-nominated, multi-platinum, multi-hyphenate, brand icon, and my former student. Give it up for Saweetie!
You are too kind. I really appreciate those words. And good evening, ladies. What's up? I'm so happy to be here.
Well, let's go on a journey. We only have a short amount of time, and I could not be more proud of you and thrilled and excited to be here. And you're pretty amazing. And I know there's so much wisdom and humility that you have that this audience can benefit from. So I just want to start by asking you a really softball, big picture question. Tell us a little bit about your origin story and your journey, and that jump from USC, right, Annenberg School for Communication, fight on, and becoming who you are today, and all that you're doing.
Well, I actually have a really interesting story about Annenberg. For when I was a transfer student, I went to San Diego State for 2 years, transferred over, and got into USC, but did not get into Annenberg. And in this moment, it had really taught me something that I would forever carry on throughout not just my personal life, but throughout my professional career. I was like, I'm gonna get into that school. So what did I do? I wrote the president a letter, and I told her all the reasons why I deserved to be in the Annenberg School of Communication. And the next morning, she emailed me back and said, "You were absolutely right," and I got in. So, ladies, in that moment, I realized that, never take no for an answer, and it's just a precursor to yes, because I'm gonna get my yeses.
That's amazing. So in thinking about all your accomplishments, I mean, we're talking about music. I had to write it down because there's so much. I don't want to get any of it wrong. Music, fashion line, skincare. You're an actor. You're a branding icon with partnerships with McDonald's, Revlon, Crocs. I'd love a pair. Roadblocks, Candy Crush, Champion, and Tinder. That same tenacity and grit that you had writing a letter, how do you know what to say yes to? And what's that internal mechanism that guides you and how to figure that out?
Well, when it comes to collaborating, I feel like you should always believe in the partnership. Because if you don't, then the work feels like work, and we want our work lives to be fun, ladies, right? So I always make sure that I believe in the product, I believe in the people, so that when we join in a partnership, it's fruitful, it's genuine, and it can be lucrative for both parties.
100%. Now, I read somewhere in an article that you were talking about acting, and that you want to play a supervillain in a DC comic. Ladies, how do we make that happen right now? Who's in the room that can make that happen? Is that true? Do you want to be a supervillain?
It's true. For the past couple of Halloweens, I've been dressing up as Harley Quinn, Mystique, Catwoman. But I really enjoy a woman who's determined to just be herself in a world where, sometimes that's hard to be. So shout out to my supervillains and my superheroes that are women.
I love it. I love it. I always wanted to be an Avenger. So maybe we can do a co-starring thing somewhere.
I love her. This is how class was.
Right? A few tangents every now and again. Okay, so or many. Matter of fact, let's review some of the material you learned in class. I can give you a little quiz right now. I'm just kidding. So we all face obstacles. We all face setbacks. We all face challenges. And you know, you've had this meteoric rise and are hitting it out of the park, but there have to be impediments. There have to be challenges and obstacles. Can you think about a time outside of writing the letter to get in to Annenberg more recently where you had a challenge, and how did you navigate that challenge so that you protect, do self-care, but you also keep moving forward with the mission of your brand?
Actually, I have the perfect story for this. And shout out to the ladies that came up here before. I was listening, and there's something that one of them said that really stood out to me was the rule of kindness, being kind. Recently, I was working with someone who is an associate, someone in the industry, and we had a great event. The next morning, I woke up to a really long, rude text message. And I was like, looking in the mirror, I'm like, what we gonna say? You know, because it's not your friend, it's not your family member. You have to be really careful with your words. And I forgot who taught me this, but something that I learned that was really important in times where the communication may not be best, I always ask questions. So I had asked so many questions to the point where they couldn't figure out why they were projecting their anger, and they actually apologized and said that they were having a really bad night. And unfortunately, I caught the stray, but it was a great moment for me, and I was like, see, this is why you can't impulsively respond. You never know what someone is going through. So don't only just be kind to your peers, be kind to people who may not feel like your peer in that moment, you know, good or bad, because I feel like if you're good to people, it'll eventually be reciprocated.
I love that. Where were you a few hours ago when I needed that? We also taught about excitation transfer theory in class and how arousal, right, from previous things can affect you in a situation that has nothing to do. So that's a lot of wisdom that you're bringing to this conversation. Now, you have a foundation. So tell us a little bit about the foundation and what its purpose is. And what I'm really interested in the foundation is who you work on some of these projects with.
So I started this foundation with my grandmother. Her name is Roxanne. I wish she was here. You guys would love her. But growing up, she was always going to low-income communities, speaking at schools, trying to teach financial literacy. And at the time, I'm just going with the flow. Like, my grandma's been my best friend, but I've always just seen her care for the community. One day, I had donated a ton of money to this organization, but they couldn't tell me what they did with my money. So I'm just like, I'd rather spend my money where I know it's going to count. So I actually founded this organization with her, and what we do is we go to low-income communities and we teach financial literacy. Because in Black and brown communities, thank you. Because in Black and brown communities, financial knowledge isn't taught as much as it should be. And if it was taught as much as it should be, you know, financial literacy would feel second nature and not like a chore, you know, when you get up and you have to learn it. So I think it's important to teach the future of, you know, I just lost my words. The future, please help me out.
Well, you're interested in the future of Black and brown communities
Yes.
being as literate,
Yes,
right?
that's
And
my
to be able
girl.
to compete,
Exactly.
right? We're a team.
Yep.
We're a team.
That's my girl.
100%.
Thank you. Got a little tongue twisted.
Yeah. Well, I might as well give you this now. I was going to wait till the end, but since we're a team,
Oh, thank you.
we're going to make you the Chief Music Officer of the Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, which is our think tank on issues of inclusion at USC. So you're going to have to come visit us and bring your sweatshirt.
I love that. A think tank.
Yeah.
And if I need a lifeline, I'm going to call you again.
100%. So this is for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the impact that working with these communities have had on financial literacy. Have you guys measured, because I was on your website reading about the impact in the lives of young people, the programs that you're rolling out?
So we're 6 months in, so we haven't been able to measure the impact yet. However, it was a moment where I saw the impact of what we were teaching these kids when I would say we started around 12 years old, but when the 12 and the 13-year-old kids were showing up to class 30 and 15 minutes early, and we teach through Zoom, but just to see the waiting room and to see these kids eager to learn, it was shocking, but it showed me that a hole needed to be filled in these communities, and they were eager to learn about that. So I was really impressed by these young students.
And I can't wait to see the dividends, right? We know that there are too few Fortune 500 CEOs, right, that are women of color in particular. So to see what the long-term impact of this program is, I can't wait, and to watch your grandma celebrate, because she's a powerhouse.
She definitely is.
Is a powerhouse. So you have all these amazing partnerships, and I was reading about Swipe Off. Can you tell me a little bit about Swipe Off? I think it's Swipe Off, right? Not Swipe On? Let me check my notes here. I'm not a swiper. I'm full disclosure. And tell me about this with Tinder, and why I think you were leaning into this opportunity, given your love of college.
Well, Tinder Swipe Off was an initiative that I took with the app, and we had targeted college campuses, and whoever had won the contest, I came and I did a free show for them. But the reason why I really love doing this partnership, this is my second time working with them, is the creativity. So I appreciate Tinder, and I love how they try to incorporate themselves into younger communities.
And do you have anything upcoming that you're really, really excited about, that in terms of partnerships or working with brands or acting perhaps? Like, what's on the horizon for you that you cannot wait either to talk about, reveal, or anything like that?
Well, I just left a movie set, so I'm really excited about that. That's why I have my little brain fart. But I really appreciate being in other creative settings. I feel like it makes me more creative, and I love seeing how other creatives work. And acting is a whole different ballgame than music, because it's not my set, it's someone else's set. So there's a lot of learning to be done in these next couple of days while I'm on set.
Absolutely. So that's a good transition to talking a little bit about women in music. So you inhabit this really interesting space, right? We know that women are at a disadvantage in the music business, just like they are in film and television. They clock around 30% of artists, far fewer writers and far fewer producers and engineers in the studio. How do you navigate those waters when it's so imbalanced? How do you make sense of the environment, particularly coming out of a college situation where Annenberg's like 80% women, right? And then to be thrust in this male-dominated arena, how is it navigating that space?
At first, it was really intimidating, but I think the more trust that I built with myself, the more confident I became in these rooms. My advice would be to all the women in here is build confidence with yourself. Trust your instinct, trust your gut, and stand up for yourself. Like I said, I don't take no for an answer. I ask all the questions, and if I'm not getting to where I feel like I need to be, it's nothing but a side conversation, or just exploring more options. I love me some options, and I stand up for myself, and that's the biggest. I feel like that's one of my biggest strengths right now.
And what's that like? Because you've talked about what it means to be in the room, that you need to be in the room, you need to be part of decisions. Have there been moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing? Like we changed something, or we brought people in? Because that recording studio can be rough. Like, we've done all the research on the experiences of women in that space, and it's not pretty. Only 15% of songwriters are women, or less than 15, and then just even this year, only one woman is nominated for Song of the Year who's not an artist as a songwriter, but 12 men. So it's still completely tilted. So has there been a victory or something really powerful that's happened in that studio that you've been like, we've got this and we're making change?
Absolutely. So there's been many times where I've been in the studio where I'm the only woman, and sometimes when it's my input versus their input, it's very imbalanced. However, if I'm speaking from my experience and if it's my project, my biggest statement is, well, you guys don't have the same experiences as me, and it just completely shuts the room off. And they're like, no, you're right. So my point gets across. It's getting across more often because I'm able to say, you're not a woman. You don't experience what I experienced, and if I have something that I truly believe in, then you guys should believe me because it's my work and not yours.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Well, I have a favor I'm going to ask of you. Since I know you support women, you're hitting it out of the park across all these different verticals. I'm on the board of this organization called She Is the Music. You might have heard of it, Alicia Keys' nonprofit. Would you consider, particularly if TheWrap is in the room reporting on this, would you consider doing a songwriting camp with women songwriters? And
Absolutely.
you heard it here first.
Absolutely.
That would be amazing. Bringing women in to learn with you, working together to come up with something that we never see, a group of women in the recording studio together.
Well, I feel like with the platform that I have, it's my duty to help the women who are coming up under me or behind me and to hold their hand and to teach them, because I've made so many mistakes because I haven't had a mentor. And if I could save a life, I'm going to save a life.
Mm-hmm. You're saving my life right now.
You saved my life.
I can't stress enough how proud I am of you. And at the end of every semester, we always give the last lecture. The professors always give the last lecture. But now it's your opportunity. With the little bit of time left that we have, what's your last lecture to all of these folks in terms of maybe a couple of words of advice, something to warm their heart, fill their mind? What would you say to these folks in our last few moments together?
Could I take a question or two? I feel like that'll help
Let's
me.
do a question. One question. Who has a question for Saweetie? Right here. One question.
Thank you so much for being with us. You're incredible.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
I'm Kamala.
Hi, Kamala.
Content at Lionsgate Films. And so representation is so important to me. And I think for young women especially, to see people like yourself just being assertive and confident is so impactful. Can you talk about some of the women that you've looked up to, both in your personal life and also in media, when it comes to sort of representations that have really affirmed you?
Well, someone who has been a hero to me since day one is my grandmother. She was she was a prominent real estate agent in the Bay Area, and I just would always love how she carried herself in business. She would always have so much grace, and at a young age, I learned that it's a real tool. It's not a weapon; it's a tool. Having grace, no matter what circumstance you're in, because it's as long as you have that, I feel like you'll always pull through. And when it comes to being in the industry, I haven't found that person yet. I would like to have someone who can guide me because I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. And I love what one of the women said before. It's okay to not know. Like, I ask all the questions. I ain't got no shame in my game. But yeah, mentoring girls and being in rooms with them, it's important for them to see someone like me, to let them know that they can do it too. 'Cause that's all really it is. We all want to know if we can do it too, and you guys definitely can.
Great question. Thank you. One of an educator's greatest moments is one just like this, looking back and seeing the trail that their students are blazing. So thank you for picking me for doing today's Q&A. Everybody give it up for Saweetie.
And everyone, please give it up to my professor, Dr. Stacy Smith.